Hello again. What I'm going to talk about during this session is my sexual abuse um, growing up and how that paved the way into my alcoholism and some of my relationships into adulthood and the different interactions. I was raised on Amjanang by my grandfather, and I was adopted by him because my mother was a little bit too young to take care of me, and she was, I think she became pregnant when she was about 15, and she had me when she was 16 by C-section. But anyways, I grew up around a lot of drinking while I was living in my grandfather's home. And there were a lot of drunk men all the time. In and out, there's drunks coming in and out of the house all the time. There's a lot of drunk men, and there were a lot of sexually abusive men. And so today, I still deal with those problems and with drunk men and many different men in my life. And it took me a lot of work to deal with a lot of this abuse that I was brought up with. First incidents I can remember, I was just a baby, and I remember I was in a baby buggy, and my grandfather was outside, and someone that was supposed to be looking after me, he was laying on the bed, on a small bed or a cot or something like that, just a few feet away from me, maybe about 2 or 3 feet. And I remember it being in the middle of the day, and every time my grandfather went out, he began to masturbate, and he was masturbating while I was still there, and I was feeling sick, and I could hear him, what he was doing, and the sound made me sick. I was very much aware that what he was doing was very disgusting, and I didn't like it, and so he kept throwing stuff at me because I looked at him a couple times to see what he was doing, because I didn't know what he was doing, right? But I knew it was wrong, and it was grossing me out, and I started to cry, and my grandfather came back in, and he stopped before my grandfather came in. But that stood out. That was one of the first incidents, but there was more as I got older, and I can remember drunk men that came to parties, trying to offer me money to have sex and to do stuff with other girls that were my age that were running around the party too. So there was kids around drunks, right? So it's not a very good mixture. And one man had offered me, he wanted me to have a sexual relationship with a girl about my age, and we were only just children. We were only 7 or 8 years old, and he even had the money in his hand, and I shook my head, and I just looked at him, and I didn't want to do it, and of course, right, that disgusted, but that incident stood out. Another time when my grandfather gave another man a ride in the back of the car, my uncle, I should say. And my uncle was driving, and my grandfather was in the passenger seat. We gave this guy a ride, and I started talking to the guy because I was just in a happy mood that day. So I was only about 78 years old, so I started talking to him. He mistook it and thought I was flirting with him. He thought, oh, this little boy's taking interest in me. He likes me. So he comes right out, and he asked me, he goes, he says, hey, you want to be my bum boy? And I didn't know what that was, but I had a good idea what he meant. But I just kind of ignored it, and he sat there and he kept smiling and looking at me. And this man was probably in his 40s, and he lived here on Amjanang too, and I believe he was abused sometime in his life, probably in the residential school, but that's his story. But anyways, we got back to my grandfather's house, and the man asked me again. This time my uncle went to work, and he took the car to work, and my grandfather and this man, they were drinking beer there. They just got some beer from the beer store. They were sitting there having a couple beers, and the man asked me again, and my grandfather was sitting there, and either my grandfather didn't hear him or he was just ignoring it. But the man asked me again, and he was, "So, do you want to be my bum boy or not? Do you want to be my bum boy?" And I said, "What's a bum boy?" And he says, "It's somebody that gets a cock shoved up their ass." And that was his exact words. And I was 7 years old, and I remember his exact words, and the incident turns my stomach. Makes me want to throw up, and it's degrading to even somebody even suggesting that to me, especially when I was a child. These are just some of the incidents that what I'm telling you about that stand out the most. Another incident when I was 15, I was drinking, and I was drinking pretty heavily, and sometimes I drank so much that I drank myself into oblivion, and I got so drunk, and I would pass right out drunk, and I would be just unconscious from the drinking. And my grandfather made sure that nobody touched me, or nobody. We had a lot of drunks coming in and out of the house, but this one time, we had this one man that used to frequent the house, our place a lot. He came to our parties a lot, came and drank with my grandpa and my uncle, and he'd come and drink with us all the time. So I knew him throughout the years. But this one morning, after a night of drinking, we had a pull-out couch there in the living room, and I would sleep on this pull-out couch, and sometimes that was my bed. And so sometimes we didn't have a lot of beds, and we had people stay over. And well, my grandfather was sleeping on a bed just on a bunk, just in the living room as well, just only a few feet away. And the couch was right there. It was a pull-out couch, so the couch was pulled out, and I was asleep on it, and I was passed out drunk. I had so much drinking, and I was 15 years old at the time. I woke up, and the guy that came to the parties all the time, he was laying beside. I felt somebody's arm like this, and I was laying like this, and the guy's arm was over me, and my pants were unbuckled, but they were pulled up. And I turned around, and I saw who it was, and I was just so disgusted and shocked and angry, and I didn't know what to do. So I got up, and hi Oreo, just hold on a second. I woke up. Oreo is just sleeping. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and so Oreo, my dog, is having a dream. So, but anyways, I woke up, and there was this guy was behind me, and I realized that this creep was attempting to have sex with me. He was trying to rape me when I was sleeping, and but I knew this guy was he wasn't a good person to begin with, because he had a history of doing this to people on Aamjiwnaang here, both men and women. And I heard stories from other people, from other victims about this man. But he was never convicted. He was never even charged with some of this shit that he did. But I turned around and looked at him, and I was afraid to say something. And my grandfather and my uncle were sitting in the kitchen drinking beer, and they saw me get up, and they didn't see me buckling my pants up, but they just thought that we were just sharing the couch, or he had nowhere else to sleep. But he got on the couch with me. It was like a bedside, like a queen size bed couch, and he was attempting to pull my pants down and rape me, and I always remembered that. And he's done it to other people, and he'd done it to women and men, like I said. So when I got older, though, I got angry enough, and I held that with me for years. And I confronted him with a pair of scissors, and I was at my sister's house, and he was there, and he came there. He came there to drink with his nephew all the time. His nephew was going out with my sister. So I confronted him with a pair of scissors, and I said, "You remember that time?" And he says, "You're lying. You're lying." He tried to deny it. Of course he's going to deny it. See, here it is years later, but I held it that long. I didn't touch him. I just wanted to scare him, and I wanted him to know that I still remember it, and I still know. The man is dead today, and he's dead from his own karma. That's all I can tell you. All my abusers that I can remember, they're all passed away. So even if they were still alive, I wouldn't be interested in prosecuting anyone or putting them in jail or bringing this all up. I don't believe in dealing with it that way. I believe dealing with this kind of stuff has to be done in circles and with people that you can trust. So I'm talking about my abuse because I want you to know this was some of the beginning of what started to happen with me. This is just only some of it. This is only the tip of the iceberg. And as I got older, I had a lot of sick memories, even different things that happened around me while I was growing up. There was people, there was women passed out on a couch, and women were getting raped and abused. Drunk men were trying to have sex with women, and the guy that was raping me, or was trying to rape me, I know when I was growing up, I know that he was doing it to other women because I saw him doing it to other women. And so that's why I know this guy was a creep. He's respected by other people. He's got lots of family members, but the stuff that I got on this guy, it's just unbelievable. But I just leave it. Okay, so I have a lot of garbage that I had to deal with, and I still have to deal with it, and I still carry it. It took me a while to be able to be comfortable around homosexual men and people that were bisexual because of those incidents and because of all that stuff happening. But now today, some of my best friends, some of the nicest people I know are my gay guy friends. My gay guy friends, my bisexual friends, both lesbian women and the bisexual lesbian community. I respect you all because, it's just, a lot of you have treated me human and with respect. And I got to learn a lot from sexually abused people. And a lot of sexually abused people are two-spirited. That means gay and, or that means two-spirited means liking both men and women. So you're bisexual, that's two-spirited. That's what that means in my culture, the Native culture. And there are a lot of, I began to realize in treatment and in jail why people were two-spirited and how some of them became that way. And some of them were just, were born that way, and some of them were very severely abused and grew up around abuse. I never had an interest in men, none at all. I've had a lot of issues with men, and I still do. But I'm still accepting. If people can accept me for the way I am and my history, everything about me, I can accept you. But if you're going to judge me, I'm going to be judgmental too, right? Works both ways. If I don't even look for a woman or a relationship anymore because I just wait for it to happen for me. If somebody's going to be interested in me, they're going to have to start with me. That's pretty much because I've been into so many different dysfunctional relationships and abusive relationships. I'm not really in a hurry anymore. But I miss being intimate with a woman. I miss it sometimes, but I'm not going to go looking for it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But the sexual abuse, the different things that I saw growing up helped pave that road into what had happened to me with my drinking and my alcoholism and my lifelong abuse until I began to go into treatment and deal with my sexuality and deal with my sexual abuse. It all came together and made sense. When I went to especially Native treatment centers and I was around Native people, and they were talking about the residential schools, and so I began to recognize where the sexuality and the sexual abuse came from and where it started. That these were passed down behaviors that came from the residential schools and from the children as they came home. They brought this stuff to the communities, but sexual abuse and domestic violence and family violence. This is not in our culture. This was brought here by the churches and European culture. And I'll go further into that as I talk more about my own abuse and how we can deal with sexual abuse as a child and as you grow up. But I became a severe chronic alcoholic, and I held a lot of secrets. But when I came into treatment, I was able to let go a lot of tears. Became more comfortable to cry. So the more healthier you become and you deal with your trauma, the more you're able to feel. And because throughout all those years, we learn how to numb those feelings, and we don't know how to love anybody else. We don't even know how to love ourselves. So once we begin to love ourselves, we can start to love others, right? We can start to love other people. And that's how it should start out, rather than jumping right into a sexual relationship. And that's what I was used to during my drinking. I was addicted to sexuality because of my sexual abuse. So I was addicted to sexual relationships. I saw drunk women being sexually abused, and so those are the kind of women that I sought out as I got older, whether they were white women or Native women. If they were promiscuous, those were the women that I sought out, because I knew it would be quick sexuality. So with that, I'm going to end the session, and I will talk more on this. And I thank you for joining me again and on my channel, my new channel. And I hope to get some more videos out again this week, maybe 2 or 3 more, and introduce you a little bit more to Oreo, who's off to the side over here. He's off camera tonight. And I thank you very much. Chimigwech, that means big thank you in Ojibwe. Have a good night, or a good morning. It's like 3:30 or 4 in the morning now.